This is day 6 of Scarin, Karen, and today we're talking about Silver Bullet. Oh! And we're talking about Silver Bullet from 1985, same year as Cat's Eye. Big year for Stephen King. Also, it's directed by Daniel Attias. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'm going to say Attias. This is the only movie he ever directed. He did some television, but this was both his first and last directorial effort. And it was written by Stephen King, adapted from a novelette called Cycle of the Werewolf. Had you ever run across that at all?
No, I don't recall that one. I don't think I ever read that.
I've never read it. I've heard a little bit about it. I think it was like an illustrated book. So every chapter kind of had like a feature picture of the werewolf for whatever you would associate with that month. Mm-hmm. And I think that they called it Cycle of the Werewolf because it's kind of like a calendar where every chapter is one of the 12 months. And when the full moon comes out, they talk about what happened with the werewolf that month. And then there's a illustration to go with it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've heard. I haven't read it myself. It's starring Gary Busey and Corey Haim. Did you notice any other recognizable actors in this film?
The guy who played Andy, who was in charge, I guess, of the townspeople, trying to lead them or whatever. He, I knew I recognized his face. I had to look him up. He was the dad in Life Goes On.
Okay,
Do you remember that TV show from the 80s?
I remember the show
about the son that had Down syndrome.
Yeah, but I can't recognize that dad at all. I'm trying to place the dad, and I keep thinking of the dad from the Wonder Years instead.
Nope, that was the dad.
Yeah,
there was maybe one other that I recognized, and I can't remember who it was though. But
now I didn't watch Lost, but I did read that Terry O'Quinn, something like that, a guy from Lost. He was the bald-headed guy on Lost named Locke, maybe. Uh-huh. He was the sheriff in this movie.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But he had a hat on, so I don't know if he had hair here, if he was bald here, or what the deal was. And then the voiceover, because strangely about halfway through this movie, they suddenly start a voiceover. And that voiceover was from the lady you were telling me was in The Walking Dead. Yeah,
so that's why she wasn't actually in it. But
yeah, it was just her voice.
I looked it up, and it said that she was in the show. I guess she was his sister's name was Nan. Was that it, or what was his sister's name?
I think it was Nan.
Yeah, so they had the actual Nan teenager, but then she was an adult telling the story. So the narrator.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because about halfway through, they throw in the narrator who's the adult female of the sister. Mm-hmm. So suddenly she becomes the point of view character, even though the whole thing's shot like Corey Haim's the point of view character.
Right.
And then also the whole thing is shot in what would have been roughly present day 1985. So is she talking to us from like 2020 or something?
Oh, probably.
it just threw me for a real loop. That's a part of the movie. I've seen this movie before. Yeah. That's a part of the movie I forgot about. It was produced by Martha De Laurentiis. That name's familiar because we were talking about Dino De Laurentiis with Cat's Eye.
Yeah, he's a part of this movie too. I saw his name in the credits.
It's the De Laurentiis company, the Dino De Laurentiis company, but the actual producer on this was, according to my source, Martha. And I just made the assumption that Martha's his wife, but it doesn't necessarily have to be his wife. It just doesn't seem like an Italian first name. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think it was like his sister or daughter or anything.
Right.
And I guess this was being produced in roughly the same time and place as Cat's Eye, and that's why Dino had to take one and Martha had to take one. Mm-hmm. Who do you think did a better job, Dino or Martha?
No, I think Dino. I wasn't a fan of this movie.
Well, we'll get into some details, but Dino may actually be a big part of why this movie's not better than it is. This was made on a budget of $7 million. Pretty much the same budget as Cat's Eye, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And the box office return on this one was $12 million, which is a tiny bit less than Cat's Eye, if I remember correctly. So not a real big moneymaker here. I'm starting to see Dino falling out of love. They can't all be Carrie. You know what I mean? They're not all making buku bucks, as the rich French people say. And right about here's where I usually throw in a spoiler warning because I can't talk about movies without talking about every dirty detail. And I can't talk about stuff without spoiling it. So if you don't want to have this 40-year-old movie spoiled for you, then you can go ahead and stop this video and run off and watch Silver Bullet and then come back and watch us. Or don't. I don't really care what you do. I'm not your dad. And now we have yet another synopsis. This is getting to be my favorite part of the show that we do here, Karen, is the synopsis. I take a lot of pride in this. I don't know if I did a very good job, but I took a lot of pride in trying to do it. So give me some honest feedback here. A paraplegic boy is determined to find the identity of a small town's resident werewolf. Did you catch all that? I stumbled a little bit there. So is that a pretty good one then? I didn't get too far off.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if to say, the mysterious monster in town or who's killing the people. I thought we'll just go ahead and call it what it is, the resident werewolf.
You'd probably say a boy and his sister because he kind of roped her into it too. She did all the work because he couldn't get around very well.
I'm going to show you a little behind the curtains here, a little behind the scenes. I wrote that synopsis before I rewatched the movie. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Corey Haim stuck in my mind so much I'd forgotten even had a sister.
Yeah.
So... and I mean, in my defense, I'm pretty old and it's been a while. Mm-hmm. But do you remember when you first discovered this movie? Because I watched this relatively recently for the first time. I never got to see this one as a kid.
It was probably around that same time I watched Cat's Eye, all that stuff, probably in the late 80s. But I wasn't. It didn't stick with me. Because when I asked you today, I said, I didn't know Corey Haim was in this movie. Like, so I feel like it's been so long and that it didn't stick with me very well that I felt like I was watching it for the first time.
Now, I watched it for the first time on Shudder since we've lived in this house. Because there were a lot of Stephen King movies I missed out on. And then I listened to... the book for Salem's Lot, and it was really good, and I started getting a hankering to go back and watch the stuff that just for whatever reason my parents either wouldn't let me or I didn't get the chance, didn't have a VCR in my house for a long time, so I decided to play some catch up on stuff that I didn't watch for various reasons, and this is one that I did see, and I really like this one a lot, but I'm picking up that you didn't like it as much, so we may have a contentious discussion.
I don't think I was, even back then, I was as into werewolves, and I don't think I've ever really been as into werewolves as I have been with like other creatures like vampires and ghosts and things.
I think
those were kind of last on my list.
I think I've always preferred werewolves. They're almost like a superhero or like the Incredible Hulk. Like you're a human that has a superpower. Like I honestly thought it might be cool to be a werewolf when I was a kid. I never wanted to be Freddy Krueger. Oh. But I always thought if you just figure out how to control it, it's a pretty handy thing to have. You're basically a superhero, and you don't have to deal with all the BS that I almost said Dracula's, but I meant vampires. Right. You don't have to deal with the sun and the garlic and all that. All you got to do as a werewolf is, I don't know, you stay away from silver bullets and dog's bane. Oh yeah, wolf's bane.
Wolf's bane.
Have you ever seen a gas-powered wheelchair before?
I have not, but that was one of the things I had noticed in the beginning when I watched it. I said, that boy's got a lawnmower on the back of his... it sounded like a lawnmower was powering that wheelchair, and I thought that was pretty clever for the 80s.
I guess in 1985, maybe there weren't a whole lot of electric wheelchairs back then.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything like that at all.
I also didn't really look out for them either when I was 10 years old.
But didn't they have like even motorized scooters and things at all back then? Because they did, I didn't pay attention to it either.
I don't know about that, but they definitely had go-karts that sounded exactly like this kid's wheelchair. Yeah. So they took a go-kart motor and stuck it onto that chair, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it goes pretty fast too.
Yeah, even the original model, because it gets a remake towards the end, but even that original model that's not too impressive to look at goes pretty quickly. Zips right on down the road. And I like the way that it's got like the handles with the clutch and the gears and everything. I guess Corey Haim had to really learn how to drive that thing, because it doesn't look like the kind of production where they were hiding a remote control to drive him around or anything. Yeah.
Well, I think even though this movie didn't do well at the box office, I think they were really trying to use that star power in like Corey Haim, because was that around the time like the Goonies had been filmed, and then the
Corey Haim wasn't in the Goonies. That
Oh,
was
I thought he
Corey
was in.
Feldman.
Okay, never mind. Just I get my
Corey
Corey's
Haim,
confused.
this is just before I think Lucas is when Corey Haim really started to get famous. So I think this is like a year before Lucas. So
Okay.
from what I read, Gary Busey's son, Jake Busey, I'm sure you remember him from
Yes.
Shasta McNasty. It was your favorite show in 2000.
Yeah.
But Jake Busey and Corey Haim are like 6 months apart in age.
Okay.
And they would hang out together in Wilmington, and they could just like go to town and go fishing and stuff, and nobody knew who they were.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool story that I read, that the two of them became good friends as children, stayed in touch up until Corey Haim died, I think is what I read.
If I could critique his acting in that, I
Yeah.
just was not impressed with his depiction of someone who was in a wheelchair or who was a paraplegic. Like there were moments when he was picking himself up and still moving his leg on his own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, okay, dude, somebody needs to teach you how to.
Have you
know,
seen
be.
License to Drive, Dream a Little Dream?
Oh, it's been a long time, but yes,
The Lost Boys.
I've seen those.
Corey Haim's not really a good actor.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he has a cute
nothing
face. I
surprises
guess
me.
that's why they used him. But
Yeah,
you
he
know.
was a teen heartthrob a little bit later in life. But
Well, and there were times that his voice too. When I closed my eyes and I heard him talking, I thought it sounded like Fred Savage and not Corey Haim.
Fred Savage would have been really good in this movie.
I
He's
think
right
so,
about the
too.
right age in 1985. I think I would have liked him better than Corey Haim.
I think so too.
I like Corey Haim just because I was that age where he got really popular on direct-to-video movies
Yeah.
like License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream. But you know, he's no Fred Savage.
There was a little
he's not
theme
great.
kind of going there too, though. If you take a look at the family.
The Coleslaw family.
Nobody had like dark hair. Everybody had like light hair. They left all the dark haired features to like the darker characters, like the police officer, the sheriff, the werewolf. I mean, you know what I mean. So these were more like fair haired.
See, I didn't
type
pick up on
people.
that. That's actually something I
Probably
totally.
why they didn't pick Fred Savage, because he
Yeah.
was a little too closer to the the
Well,
dark side.
I
so.
totally missed out that was going on in this movie, but that's kind of where I enjoy hearing your input because you got like a keener eye.
Yeah.
But I think that's
There's a reason for everything.
Now, this was filmed in and around Wilmington, as I alluded to before, but it's supposed to be in Maine. And I got to say, they did zero effort into trying to make us think this was in Maine because the accents of the actors were all over the place, but mostly in the South and nowhere near Maine. I mean, a Maine accent and a South Carolina, North Carolina coastal accent, very, very different accents.
Oh, right.
But I mean, it really sounded pretty rural to me, pretty southern.
Was it supposed to be not by the beach? Like it was supposed to be more rural?
It's supposed to be in Maine, and Maine has a coastline.
Yeah, but I feel like there was only one scene where they were actually at the beach or like at a lake. They were at a waterfront, and I heard the
they were at a
seagulls.
pond or a lake.
Yeah, and so my first thought though was, did they film that part in Charlotte? Because do you remember like Freedom Park has that giant lake with all the benches around it? That's all I could think about. But then they had seagulls, and I said, well, we didn't get seagulls until Hurricane Hugo came through in '89.
The only place I saw other than Wilmington listed was Burgaw. Burgaw. Have you ever heard of Burgaw, North Carolina?
I feel like I've heard of it.
And it's supposed to be near Wilmington. So.
Yeah.
Burgaw.
Mm-hmm.
It was also kind of a troubled production.
Mm-hmm.
The first director ended up quitting. He didn't like the script that he was given, and he asked Stephen King.
I can see why.
He asked Stephen King to come in and make some changes, and Stephen King gave him, a bunch of suggestions on changes to make. And the first director took it to Dino. And, Dino's the big boss of the company. And Dino, just without even looking at the suggestion, said, no, just get this effing movie made.
Yeah.
And I think he might have been bitter about Cat's Eye.
No.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But it seemed like the last thing he wanted was any more suggestions from Stephen King. And this is still in Stephen King's Snow White powdery days, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So he may have been a real pain in the butt on Cat's Eye, and Dino just was done with him by the time this movie's going into production or
Right.
into principal photography at least. So that is the biggest thing I saw in the troubled production. Also, they didn't even have a werewolf costume when they started shooting this, and nobody liked the costume, so they had one, and then they demanded it totally get redone and then redone again or something crazy like that. So troubled production here, but I still find it somewhat charming in a weird way. It really takes me back to a certain time. It also kind of feels like it was made for a kid back when you put a lot of curse words in a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Bad News Bears, things like that.
What? So, did you read like what were people unhappy with the wolf suit about? Like they just
The biggest
didn't like the look of it, or
the biggest complaint I saw is that they said it looked like a bear instead of a wolf, like a werebear.
okay.
Also, the cast. The cast didn't like it very much. I don't know if it was uncomfortable or they just thought it was ugly, but they hired
What did they expect?
they
really?
hired like a modern dancer
Yeah.
to perform as the werewolf, and they hated the suit and quit. And they actually made the actor who played the preacher get inside the suit, and
Oh my
he had to do
gosh.
his own stunts as the werewolf.
Yeah.
Everett McGill, I think, was his name. What did you think about the brother-sister dynamic here in that relationship? You had a brother. I never really had a sister. So I'm just kind of curious how you think about, because, man, they paint it like she really wants to see her disabled brother die. And then, I don't know, just with the flip of a coin, suddenly she can say she loves her brother finally.
Yeah. I think it's just the age gap. I mean, she was 15 and he was 11, and then just thinking about like his friend who is playing stupid tricks on his sister.
Yeah,
And then I feel like that's just the people that he hangs out with, and then she gets really upset with him about tearing her hose and all that stuff. And I mean, I think that's just like typical teenager behavior, especially when she's the oldest. He is the one in the wheelchair, and I could see where her parents probably used her as a babysitter, and she's just tired of being used. And then he's just ugly to her. But then all of a sudden he's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And I'm like, I don't know. Typical 11-year-old brother wouldn't do something like that.
I wondered if they were trying to make some kind of subtextual comment when he gives her money to buy pantyhose and she gives him a little bit of change back and says, I can go to the drugstore and get new legs tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because he has no legs and he could use new legs.
Yeah.
Was she like saying that
She may have.
I didn't know if she was saying that to be extremely
Yeah.
cruel or if that was just a coincidence, because Legs was a quite popular brand of
Yeah.
pantyhose in 1985. Came in a plastic egg, and when my mom would buy them, she'd let me have the egg and save them for Easter or something. I don't know.
Well, and their age too. I think as she's supposed to be 15 and he's supposed to be 11, they looked a little too close in age at the time to have such a 4-year age gap. 'Cause he didn't look like a typical fifth grader and her like a high schooler.
And I don't know if it was
so-
because she was dressed like a school teacher or something in that first scene where she falls in the mud. And,
Yeah.
But I thought she was like college age at first.
Yeah, I expect her to be
And then when I found
older.
out how young she was, that kind of surprised me. But then,
Yeah.
it's different styles and stuff. You don't really see many freshmen, sophomores in high school dress like a church lady. Like
Yeah,
she
but
did.
in the 80s, that might have been more of a
Nah,
thing.
not where I
don't know.
lived.
Yeah.
I mean, they wasn't like what they wore was any better or worse, but it was definitely different.
Yeah, but they also lived out supposedly in the countryside. I mean, it was a very
Not
small,
in an
like,
urban area like Jackson, Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just in 1985 though, you weren't. I mean, you were what, 11 years old?
Yeah.
You were noticing what the girls were wearing in high school at that point?
Yeah, because they mostly wore blue jeans and t-shirts just like the boys did. I mean, I didn't see people dress very fancily unless they were going to church or
Yeah,
something.
but they were at some kind of function though, weren't they?
It was like a picnic.
It looked like homecoming is what it reminded me of, like a
Okay.
church homecoming, because everybody was bringing food and putting it out on the
It just
table.
looked like a church potluck, so maybe those were church clothes. But
Yeah.
like the boys are out climbing trees and playing with snakes in a t-shirt and blue jeans. That's why I got all confused.
Yeah,
But the boys were still, in junior high or elementary, maybe even.
Yeah. Well, and then there was a scene at the end when they defeated the werewolf, and the two of them are sitting beside each other, and they're just like, whoo, and they turned and looked at each other and told each other how much they loved each other, and I was like, ugh, they're gonna kiss, like just the
Did you
way
really think
the
that?
way they looked at each other, and then they put their head together, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's a little too close for comfort.
I never suspected that
Oh
even
yeah.
even for an instant.
No, I just thought that. Oh my goodness, just the way they looked at each other was a little weird.
Now, I read that Gary Busey ad-libbed most of his lines, and I would believe it because they don't really, a lot of them are just straight up nonsense. They
It's
don't actually
just
match
goofy.
the conversation.
And I was thinking about that. I was like, in the things that we've seen Gary Busey in, and then him being an alcoholic, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is like typical Gary Busey, and maybe this was the start, one of his,
Well,
crazier times.
He changed, his personality changed significantly after a bad motorcycle accident with
Yeah.
head trauma, and I think this might be before that. But even before that, I mean, it wasn't like he was starting with a full bag of marbles
Yeah.
before he had his accident.
Well, and he has this weird way of talking where he talks like this, where the side of his mouth is like kind of like talking like that. You know what I mean? Like a horse kind of.
And he really lays into his Texasness or something here, even
Yeah.
though it's once again supposed to be in Maine, and Gary Busey's talking in a big Texas drawl that kind of make Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
jealous. And it's like the child will give a line like he should, like, Uncle Red, I'm really worried that there might be a werewolf in town. And then Gary Busey comes back with, werewolf? Ha ha! Wouldn't it be some say werewolf? You know, your sister when she was little was real hairy like a werewolf, but we'd feed her raw meat. Ha ha ha! And then then Corey
crazy.
Haim would go, yes, that is right.
Yeah.
So I do believe that Gary Busey had
He
lived all
was
of
really
his lives.
crazy. He just sounded really crazy. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of that going on.
And he said, "Are you for real?
It was
That's not real. I can't believe." And he just kept going on and on. Are you serious? Did you really see that? Do you really believe that? And it just was
He kind of
redundant.
He reminded me of the way Jerry Van Dyke, who played the assistant coach on the TV show Coach.
Oh yeah.
The way that he would do a lot of his lines when
Yeah.
he was talking, but he was an actual genius improv performer.
Right.
Gary Busey is just a genius, not a genius improv performer. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I agree.
So John Candy was originally lined up to play Uncle Red. So imagine if instead of Gary Busey, this has John Candy in it.
Oh, it would have been funny. It would have been a lot funnier, I think.
I think this movie becomes a bigger cult classic with John Candy.
I think so, too.
I mean, I think it ends up being on Uncle Buck territory. And I think it's
Yeah.
pretty fair to say Uncle Buck is much more beloved and thought about than Silver Bullet.
Yeah. But Uncle Buck didn't come around for another 4 or 5 years after that.
Yeah, I don't know what kept John Candy from doing this. I don't know if he wound up going with, what year was Stripes? The Stripes was before this, I think. So I don't know what John Candy wound up doing instead, but I think he would have maybe done a better job of ad-libbing all his own lines. It's
Yeah.
definitely a different uncle. But you know what?
Maybe he wasn't crazy enough.
As weird and crazy as Gary Busey is, I enjoy that dynamic with Corey Haim, because there's a thing, especially in the 80s, everybody had a crazy uncle. I had
Yeah.
Uncle Steve.
Oh, goodness.
And Gary Busey is perfect as a crazy uncle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he acts like I gotta ask his nephews what they think of him. I don't know if he has any nephews, but if he does, they've got the perfect crazy uncle.
Right.
You just can't beat that.
Yeah.
So I do like his performance, even though it's an absurd performance and
Mm-hmm.
it makes no sense. And poor Corey Haim at this point, an 11-year-old kid who probably is nervous as heck about remembering his lines, and then he's like, what am I supposed to do if he doesn't say what he's supposed to say? So he made his way through one way or the other. Now, how did you like it, or were you surprised by, or had you already figured out the reveal of who the werewolf was?
I had it figured out. I'd seen this before, but I didn't remember who it
Yeah.
was. But I feel like this is something that is typical of werewolf movies and things. It's like the religious person, especially some of the shows that we've seen in the last
Yeah.
year or two on like Netflix, that the preacher is the one that was the vampire, the main vampire, or the
Yeah.
main like werewolf.
Well-
the one that is supposed to be leading everybody, and then he like ends up being the killer. But also,
Wasn't that kind of like that Black Mass thing that
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Michael Hannigan.
Yeah,
What's it?
O'Flanagan maybe.
I can't remember his name.
Anyway, I feel like the person that's like really in charge and is supposed to be encouraging everybody, and then ends up being like the one that's doing all of the killing and trying to get everybody to follow him. But then they also try to lead us astray. But he's dreaming. The part where they're after all of those townspeople get killed and they
Yeah.
have the funeral scene, and
Yeah.
he's dreaming, and then everybody like turns into a werewolf. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. That
Sure,
was
go right
probably
ahead.
my favorite shot in the whole movie, was when
Well,
everybody changes.
I can't wait until we get to talk about our
Yeah.
favorite shots, because that might or might not be my favorite one too. But I really like the reveal.
Yeah.
Of course, I remembered it this time, but I think the reveal that it's the town preacher
Yeah.
is one of the things that make me like this story a lot. I think that it's got a little bit of, I almost said the red badge of courage when I meant the scarlet letter. It's
Yeah.
almost got a little scarlet letter feel to it, right? I mean,
Sure,
you remember
yeah.
that story a little bit? And Stephen King has no problem at disparaging organized religion. Like, that's in many things that he's written,
Yeah.
and also many of his social media posts and things like that. He's not a fan of organized religion. And I just really like that twist. It makes sense. It feels like something that would be the twist in like one of the Canterbury Tales.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of crazy to me that it was probably here in 1985 before something like this came up again. And I bet when it was in the novel, it was or the novelette, as he
Yeah.
calls it, the calendar, the fancy calendar. When it was in that, I bet it was really, really a cool, scary twist when you were reading it. So
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite parts, and I like the reveal, how his sisters decided to help him. Goes all over town looking for who has a new eye injury. And then you see this camera kind of coming up and on his face with her in the background. And we all realize at once, en masse, as the French say,
Right.
that it is the preacher. It is the actual honest to goodness preacher who is the werewolf,
Yeah.
and even tries to justify his werewolf ways because it would be wrong to kill himself because that would be a sin. And also the people he killed, he did it to keep them from sinning.
Right. Well, and then the ones that you, in other movies that you see with werewolves in it, they usually don't know what they did. They don't know who they killed until later, and they don't know anything about it. But it seems like he
Has
is
some kind of memory
conscious. He's very
Yeah.
conscious of what he's doing and who he's killing, and maybe he has a purpose in killing them. And like he was killing that lady. He killed the lady because she was going to commit suicide, and he was trying to save her from going to hell. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, he's trying to justify his kills, but also like you really see this change in him. Like it's almost like he enjoys being this werewolf because he's a savior type. You know, he's trying to save the people, and the people that are, like you said, like sinning. You know, he's really going after those, and the ones that are like sinning the most. He's trying to quiet them down or get them out and make everybody, you know, perfect. So maybe he would stop killing people if they didn't, you know, sin. But also, I feel like the change that you see in him, like he's this really straight laced character. He has this dream. Then when he's discovered by the sister and Corey Haim's character, then he becomes just this evil person. Then he starts cursing. He starts doing things that you wouldn't think that a typical,
Yeah.
you know, preacher would do. So, yeah, I found that like really interesting that he just was like, oh, I do it this way, and I'm gonna cuss you out, and I should have saved you, or I should have killed you, you meddling kid, you know, something like
little
that.
Scooby-Doo there.
Right?
Now, how did you like the upgrades that the wheelchair got? When he went from his standard gasoline-powered wheelchair like every normal kid has to the hot rod three-wheeler, looks like almost like a motorcycle.
It did look like a motorcycle,
and
yeah.
And that is the silver bullet that the movie's named after,
Yeah.
not the actual silver bullet they make to fight the
Right.
werewolf.
It kind of reminds me of like Stephen King has this thing with bikes. It must be something with bikes because the bike in the It movie, the bike is what saves the character's girlfriend. Like when she, remember she got taken by the spider-like creature?
Yeah.
And then she's in this like a coma almost, and he puts her on the bike. and he rides her through the
Yes, yes.
town, and then
Okay,
she
you're
like
talking
wakes
about there
up.
at the very end with
Yeah,
Richard
so I
Thomas.
feel like
Okay.
there's something about like
I'm
some
sorry.
kind of cars. This
For a
thing.
minute, I was trying to think of a bicycle scene on the new It that came out more
Oh
recently.
no,
And
I
then
don't
when
think
you
that one
said,
is so much like. But I
yeah.
think there's bicycles in that. I mean, of course, like people use it as transportation, but I think he has this
And the
thing
book,
with transportation.
the
There's something about
the
transportation,
bicycle is a big part of the book in It, and how he wants
right?
to go back and find the bicycle from
But
when he
then
was a
the
kid.
silver bullet in this,
Yes, I'm
and
seeing
I
it
think
now.
he also has, the Langoliers. That's about an airplane. Like there's something
Okay.
about like transportation that I think Stephen King really
I wonder if it's because he got hit
gravitates
by a
towards.
minivan that
I
time.
think that was a later. That wasn't. That
Isn't
wasn't
that
around that time.
what was the
I
movie?
feel like that was in the '90s or
Isn't that what
something.
Misery was based on or inspired by or something?
I think he got hit by a car while he was walking on the road, like way past that. Because I remember
Okay.
reading about that when that happened.
Well, what did you think of the ending of this movie when they finally have the big confrontation and good old Uncle Red manages to trick mom and dad into going out of town so he can have the kids all to himself on Halloween night? That's a little creepy if your brother ever does that.
That was weird. And then he said he really didn't win Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
Like, so
He-
did he pay for the hotel, or did the parents
bought
pay for
them-
the hotel?
No, the uncle bought the vacation for the parents.
Okay.
And then he told them he won it so that they would accept it, and he used that as a trick to get them out of the house so he
That's
could
so
lure in a
weird.
deadly werewolf to
Wouldn't
kill
he
their
have been
children.
on TV and that guy would have come to the door?
No, he didn't win the whole sweepstakes.
Right.
Like they would
He
have
just
the
won
big
a little
prize.
bit of money.
No, he won a trip.
Oh, a trip. Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But the truth is, what he really won was a subscription
The
to
Popular Mechanic.
Yeah,
Which
good joke.
that was more believable because he
And I
fixed
think-
up his bikes and stuff.
I think that might not
the
have been
wheelchair and all.
that might not have been an ad lib. That might have been written. I don't know. But I really did like. I did like the big confrontation. I like how Uncle Red just finally, despite being like the most trustworthy, loyal, faithful, protective uncle ever, he finally just at little after 3 a.m. says, "Okay, I'm out. Take the bullet out of the gun."
Yeah.
And that, of course, is when the werewolf attacks.
Yeah, I think also too what was a little bit of nostalgic for me was the when they were asleep and it was playing the Star Spangled Banner on TV.
Oh yeah,
Or
it doesn't do
the
that
national
anymore.
the national anthem, and
Yeah.
like you knew when the TV station was going to cut off because they didn't play things after like 2:00 in the morning. It was 2
Yeah.
or 3 in the morning, and it had the flag, and it reminded me of like Poltergeist, because
Oh, because
Poltergeist
then it
was
would go
the same
all,
way.
then it would go into the snow.
Yeah. So I just like I enjoyed hearing that because they don't do that anymore. But I knew that something was going to be up after that.
So here's our standard questions are
Mm-hmm.
getting started here. Did you pick up on any themes in this movie?
Oh. I mean, maybe like don't discredit the people that are, have a disability. They're not intelligent. I mean,
Yeah.
they're still function as humans and
You
should be treated
You
as
don't
such.
agree with the guy that said they
so-
should round them all up and electrocute them, and then that would balance the budget?
No, of course not.
That was a character in the
No.
movie.
No, I think, I think I liked that the kid was in a wheelchair. If they had just made it like just a regular old kid, it wouldn't have been as interesting of a story. I think that having a disability gave this element of like, maybe in the 80s that they were used to being like abused and made fun of a lot more than they do now. Like, I think we're a little more conscious about how we treat people with disabilities, but back then it was almost like he was trying to prove himself that he could do these things. Like he climbed the tree. Remember they told him he couldn't climb a tree?
Yes.
And he actually climbed up in that tree and was like, "Yes, I can climb a tree."
I think there was a little bit of a typical Stephen King theme that's not so much anti-religion, but anti-religious leaders and anti-people who use religion to control and manipulate.
Yeah.
Because I think he's kind of saying like, these religious leaders are oftentimes a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they might give you this real nice thing up front, but the truth is, when their true nature comes out, they're going to hurt you. I think it was a very conscious decision to make a clergyman the werewolf for Stephen King. And I just have to think that that's some kind of a theme he was trying to address, is the idea that it's a Jekyll and Hyde
Yeah.
situation, and what you see on the surface is there because they're trying to escape the evil inside or something like that.
Well, in the mid to late 80s was when we had all those televangelists. Like, that was really
Yes,
huge.
it was.
Tammy Faye and Jim Baker and all those people, that's probably why he was making a statement about that. So.
There's a real good chance of that, and he has a
Mhm.
long history of being critical of religious practices that are financially motivated. I guess I
Right.
don't know.
Right.
I'm trying to pick a no side and just make a
Yeah.
statement here. It's hard. uh, I think the importance of family. They only succeed because the uncle, the brother, and the sister all decide to believe and trust each other and work together. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So even though there's moments of distrust between the brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite kill? Unlike our last couple of movies, this one has several kills to choose from. I've got a favorite kill. I want to
I
hear
don't know
you
if
do.
I had one particular favorite kill, but I think my favorite kill scene was when they were in the woods and multiple people got killed.
That was
and they
a
were
good
just
scene.
kind of like they heard it and with the fog and everything, and then they didn't see where it was coming from, and then somebody gets grabbed, then somebody gets their arm ripped off, and then somebody else gets sucked down in. I think the multiple people getting killed
it
was
was
really
a massacre,
pretty cool.
and I think a
that's
massacre
probably
is
my favorite
always
one.
noteworthy, and that's a good one. I didn't pick that one for me. The one
Yeah.
that I picked was when the guy who said he wanted to execute all the people with disabilities,
Oh, okay.
and I enjoyed his kill best because
Because of what he said.
yeah,
Probably.
but then also as he's getting killed, he's getting like drug under the floor. Like there's a hole in the floor out in his shed,
Yeah.
and a board pops up and just kind of spears him right under the rib cage.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
was
really
kind of
gruesome.
interesting too.
So I like that. That was my favorite kill.
Yeah, the one at the beginning was really interesting too. That's probably my second favorite. Was the
With the beheading that looks like a train accident.
yeah, they couldn't figure out what it was, and then when the train comes, it actually like runs over his face, and then it like immediately goes to the next scene where a kid steps on a bug and it just so
Oh,
you
that
knew
was
what
a
happened.
pretty gross shot.
Yeah, I
of that
thought
bug.
that was really interesting.
Well, that's a good segue. Did you have a favorite shot?
Uh oh, I think I told you earlier. I thought, but
And we said it might come back.
yeah.
What was it?
Oh,
It was the church scene with the dream scene in the church. The
Yes,
funeral.
yes. I enjoyed watching everybody change into a werewolf. I thought that was really interesting.
I picked that as my favorite scene too. And
Yeah.
I asked for favorite shot, and this movie doesn't really have any shots that I think are out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But that is my favorite scene. If it did anything interesting, it was going to be there. And then I also like the way that they panned the camera and got the position they got on the reveal on the preacher and his eye patch with the
Yeah,
sister in the
that one's
background.
okay. I mean,
I like
that-
the
that
way
was
it's
like-
framed, but that would be more like a nice photograph
Yeah,
than a
that was
nice
something
shot.
that was kind of like that was expected, I think, especially the way he was positioned in the distance and he only turned halfway, and so then I was like, okay, yeah, it's coming.
But
It's going to show his eye patch. But
I certainly enjoyed that scene, that dream sequence
the
in the
dream
church better.
sequence.
That's where the money is in this movie. You know,
Yeah.
that is where if you're going to really enjoy anything here, it's probably going to be that.
yeah, well, I think with any werewolf movie, I think one of the most enjoyable shots is to see how they make the transformation.
Particularly in the practical transformation in the world. It's post The Howling and American Werewolf in London when they started using the inflatable bladders under latex to make the
Yeah.
face stretch and stuff. Yeah, and this definitely took a lot of notes in its transformation from those two legendary werewolf movies, which
Yeah.
are right around this time. I think they're like 84.
Yeah.
There was just so many werewolf movies in a
Mm-hmm.
6-year period that this came out in.
But you didn't see just one person changing. You saw multiple people changing.
is
so
the
then
only
you noticed
time-
that they had like everybody had a different coloration,
Yeah.
different hair. Their faces were about the same, but you saw them in different
Different stages of transformation.
yeah. And because it was this dream sequence, and I didn't expect it. We thought that we were actually watching a funeral scene, and then someone yells out something and you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening here? And then you see the teeth come down. You're like, oh, here we go. But then it's not him. Oh, it's him too. Oh, it's them. It's them. It's them.
It's a great scene.
Yeah, it is.
It really is, and it's part of what I love about this movie. But I'm worried maybe you don't love it as much as I do because we're going into the important scores here. We start off with the scare grade. We grade it on how scary it is before we give our overall pumpkin rating. And Karen, where does this come? What scare grade does Silver Bullet from 1985 earn from you?
I don't know. I think this is like almost like the one the other day. It just wasn't that scary to me because I don't think of werewolves in that way. I think it was probably a C for me.
I'm going to give it a D because
Mm.
I'm with you. There's nothing scary about werewolves. Werewolves are cool. Like werewolves are like King Kong or Godzilla.
Yeah.
They're just not scary to me.
I mean, as an adult, now maybe as a child, would I show this to a young child like my nieces? Probably not because there are some scary elements
I
in it.
really think this movie was made for 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
I really think that's what's going on. And I'm not being funny or
Yeah.
facetious. I really feel like,
You think
Stephen
they would
King.
cheer it on?
Well, Stephen King really writes in a way that children relate to. Like that's what's so great about it is all
Yeah.
the stuff with the kids, not
Oh,
once
right.
they're adults. And it's the same way here. And I just really think this is a movie that has just enough scary and gore for a 12-year-old boy to feel like he's really seen something.
Yeah.
But it's really just as simple. It's like a comic book story.
Yeah.
More than it is like
it makes me
a
wonder
horror
why
story.
they even took this story out of all the stories they had and turned it into an hour and a half movie.
Well, werewolves were hot, and it's probably the only werewolf story Stephen King has. And they were
Yeah.
working with Stephen King, and his name was bringing money up until 1985.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this
true.
wasn't a great year for him.
Yeah.
But,
I I think I just like Stephen King's more supernatural things other than like vampires and werewolves and things like that. I think I like
Well,
some of the other things that we're going to talk about.
yeah, I
you
think
know?
that's sort of a double-edged thing,
Yeah.
or maybe there's two reasons for that. One is because you like those things better.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then also Stephen King wrote his vampire and werewolf stories very early in his
Yeah.
career when he was very young. And then as he got older and more experienced as a writer, he stretched out from that.
Yeah.
So if you'd written those stories later in his career, you might like them better. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just devil's
I
advocate.
just feel like it's not as original because they are stories that have been told over and over again. You know what I mean?
How many big, plump orange pumpkins are you going to give Silver Bullet?
To get to for other people to watch this,
Yes.
oh, probably a 2.
I knew that you really didn't like it.
I didn't, and as soon as I was even halfway through the movie, and I told you, I said, I don't like this one. I had to start it over a couple times. It just didn't capture me. I give it a 2. Maybe if you're a werewolf fan like you, I would be more, I would recommend it to
Now,
you a little bit more, but I just don't like.
I want you to be honest, and less being honest will hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you like better, Silver Bullet or Werewolf Fighter?
Oh, I don't. I have to say Werewolf Fighter.
Oh, thank you for your honest and candid answer.
That was really hard, but I think I had to say Werewolf Fighter. But and like the story is good. It's about werewolves, but it has my family in it. I love my family, so I have to give my family props for being in it. So.
And family's an important theme. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 4 pumpkins.
Yeah.
Because I like werewolf movies.
Okay.
But it's a weird thing. I like werewolf movies. I like fantasy movies. I like genres that don't have a lot of good movies in it.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of great werewolf movies. It's hard for me to think of a werewolf movie I like better.
I think
than
American
Silver
Werewolf
Bullet.
in London is better. Than
I like
Silver
Silver Bullet better. I really do.
And I like Teen Wolf better than.
I do like Teen Wolf better. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll agree with you there. I like Teen Wolf better, but not that much better. Not as much better as you'd think. Mostly because Teen Wolf isn't as good as you remember it. If you go back and watch it, it's not as good as you remember, but it's still good, better than this.
I like the Witches of Eastwick, or not Witches of Eastwick. What is the one, the wolf with Jack Nicklaus in
I
it?
think it's simply called Wolf.
I like that one better
haven't
than this
seen that
one.
one. I haven't seen
I
that
like that one better.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got for today. I thought we were going to go 20 minutes, and here we've gone over 40. So I'm just going to say, don't give up. Never give up. Make art. Consume art. Do what you love. Love what you do.